Quite some time ago, I got a can't say no deal on a pair of Proto 1000 Lehigh Valley F3s. While I had to replace the axles on account of cracked gears, they were still a good buy. I'm not a Lehigh Valley modeler, but I use the locomotives fairly often for video shots where the engine doesn't matter, such as these shots from the American Orient Express video. The night, or technically morning, that I came home from this same shoot, I was unloading the truck at 3 a.m. to get the models back inside, and hey now, what model railroader hasn't stumbled back home at 3 a.m. from the club? Well, emphasis on stumbled. I dropped the box containing these engines. They live in a small shipping box, and I didn't have enough padding in there. The damage was noticeable. Taking stock of the obvious defects, an axle popped partially out of the rear truck of the A unit, the front coupler box had been torn clear off the engine, the front coupler was bent, and the pilot was cracked with a chunk missing. On the B unit, one of the diaphragms had broken off and cracked. The pair sat on the workbench for a little while as I dealt with other matters, but now the time has come to try to fix them. I had not done an internal inspection, but if I can get the engine to run on its own power again, that would indicate the damage is all cosmetic and I can deal with it for sure. Internal damage would be a mixed bag. Maybe I could fix it, maybe I couldn't. Right now the important thing is to get that axle back in place. It looks like it came slightly out and the brass bearing got turned at an angle so it wouldn't go back in. The bottom plate on these proto units just clips on, so a little prying in the right place will get it to pop off easily. I looked into the truck frame to see if there were any obvious defects hidden beneath the axle, but saw none. I got the bearing turned the right way and settled the axle back into its proper place. I could have torn the whole thing apart, but 30 seconds of trying to run it will tell me more than 30 minutes of disassembly. With the wheels now back in their correct positions, and a quick check to make sure none of them were bound, I tossed the engine onto the inglenook to see if it moved. Not only did it move, I heard no signs of mechanical trouble. For such a big hit, she came through okay mechanically. That tells me the bulk of the damage is, thankfully, only cosmetic. On the B unit, the only thing wrong is the loose diaphragm. Looking at the undamaged one on the other end, it seems to have merely been glued on, so I superglued the loose one back on the one end. Simple, really. The A unit was a little more complicated. Initially, I was missing the fragment of the plow, but found it on the floor near where I first opened the box after the drop. It looked like a clean break, so I did a quick dry test fit. It fit back into the gap very nicely. I applied some superglue to the mating surfaces, slightly overdoing it as usual, and got the piece to fit back where it belongs quite neatly. While that was setting, I turned my attention to the front coupler box. The whole box, screw and all, came off the engine in one piece. Normally, you unscrew the box to get it off the engine. This time I had to unscrew it to get the box apart. The coupler. Now, there was a conundrum. The odds were already strong that I would have to replace it, but if it bent one way, maybe it would bend the other. I took a pair of pliers and attempted to use them as a handheld vise to straighten out the coupler shank with compressive force. The trick is, the last time I tried doing this, the coupler just broke. No matter. If it needed replacing anyways, it's no loss. I pried the brass return spring out of the box and installed a new whisker coupler. I went to reinstall the front coupler. I was not sure if the threads in the engine's frame that accept the front coupler screw had been damaged, but when I screwed the box back into place, it held. Good enough for me. Back to the plow. Some glue traveled, but unless you really look closely, the scar is not very visible at all. I found that the uncoupling trip pin was a little too low for my liking, so I bent it up a tad with special pliers. At this point, all the major defects I had noted were repaired, so I tossed both locomotives onto the ingle nook and ran them together. I'd say they passed the test. They're running and not screaming in agony. For as big a slam as they took, not bad at all. I did notice that one of the horns on the A unit was hanging on by a thread, so I put some glue down and gently nudged it back into place. All told, this could have been much worse. The damage was not insignificant, but it also was not insurmountable. Yes, the locomotives will forever carry a couple of scars following this, but they will still be on the roster and running. At the end of the day, we're all human, or at least I hope we're all human, and mistakes come with the territory. What matters is not the mistake, but recovering from the mistake. I am satisfied that I have recovered these engines with some pretty simple repair work. It's a tale more common than most of us would like to admit in this great hobby of ours. Stay safe out there, and go enjoy it.